Number 10. The Nutella Heist, Germany 2017. In August 2017, a refrigerated truck sat parked outside a depot in the town of Neustadt an der Weinstraße in Germany. Inside it was something most people would not think to steal: about 20 tons of Nutella and Kinder chocolate eggs. Thieves drove the entire truck away during the night without leaving a single witness behind. The goods were worth around $80,000. Not a small amount, but strange to pursue with a full truck heist. Chocolate does not set off alarms. It does not get flagged at border checkpoints. It is not marked or serialized like cash or diamonds. Whoever took it understood something important. Everyday food is harder to trace than gold. German police put out an unusual public notice, asking anyone who was offered large quantities of chocolate through unofficial channels to contact them immediately. The truck was never found. The Nutella and Kinder eggs were never recovered. No arrests were ever made. What makes this case strange is not its scale but its logic. The thieves did not go after money or jewels. They stole something that people would buy without asking questions. The items could be resold at full price, at markets, at small shops, to anyone who wanted a bargain on sweets. It worked because no one expected it. And to this day, nobody knows where those 20 tons went. Number 9. The Pink Panthers Heist, Paris 2008. At around 6 in the evening on December 4, 2008, 4 people walked into the Harry Winston jewelry store on Avenue Montaigne in Paris. This was not a quiet back alley shop. It was one of the most famous luxury jewelry stores in the world, steps away from the Champs-Élysées. The 4 visitors looked unusual before they even spoke. 3 of them were wearing women's wigs and dresses. One of them was carrying a hand grenade. Within about 15 minutes, the group had forced staff to hand over 104 watches and 297 pieces of jewelry. The total value came to about $73 million. They moved quickly and left no time for resistance. The grenade kept everyone still. The disguises made surveillance footage confusing and identification harder. The gang was linked to a criminal network known as the Pink Panthers, a loosely connected group of thieves from the Balkans, believed responsible for dozens of jewelry robberies across Europe and Asia. Several suspects were eventually identified and convicted, including a security guard at the store who was found to have helped plan the robbery. But much of the stolen jewelry was never recovered. What makes this entry remarkable was not just the scale of what was taken. It was the confidence behind it. No tunnel, no elaborate hacking. 4 people, a grenade, a few wigs, and 15 minutes were enough to walk out of one of the world's most famous stores, carrying $73 million in jewelry. Number 8. The Loomis Fargo Heist, Jacksonville, USA, 1997. Philip Noel Johnson had been driving an armored car for Loomis Fargo in Jacksonville, Florida, for 10 years. He was paid $7 an hour. He had spent years watching millions of dollars pass through his hands, enough to buy entire neighborhoods, and then going home to a house he barely furnished. Somewhere along the way, Johnson stopped thinking about reporting to work and started thinking about something else entirely. He had been quietly planning his exit for nearly 5 years. On March 29, 1997, after completing a regular shift, Johnson made his move. With the depot nearly empty, he turned his company-issued pistol on 2 fellow guards, handcuffed them, and loaded an unmarked van with stacks of cash over the next 2 hours. He removed the surveillance tape from the security system, retrieved his own personnel file from the office, and locked the vault behind him so it could not be opened until the following afternoon. Then he drove away with $18.8 million. At the time, it was the single largest cash heist in American history. He left food and water near the guards, and later made an anonymous call giving their location. He drove to North Carolina, stashed the cash in a storage unit, and fled to Mexico. He nearly got away. 5 months later, a sharp-eyed customs agent at a Mexican border crossing found multiple fake passports in his bag. Johnson was arrested and eventually sentenced to 25 years in prison. Most of the money was recovered, but the plan itself had worked almost perfectly. Number 7. The Great Canadian Maple Syrup Heist, Quebec 2011 to 2012. In the province of Quebec, maple syrup is treated with the kind of seriousness that most countries reserve for oil. The Federation of Quebec Maple Syrup Producers controls about 75% of the world's maple syrup supply and keeps a strategic reserve of millions of pounds stored in warehouses, similar to how some countries stockpile grain or fuel. One of these warehouses sat in a quiet rural town called St. Louis de Blandford. It had no cameras, no alarm system, and only basic security. Over the course of several months between 2011 and 2012, thieves with inside knowledge began visiting the warehouse. They used forklifts and tanker trucks to remove barrels one by one. They took the maple syrup, siphoned it into their own containers, and refilled each barrel with water. Then they carefully returned the barrels to the same spots on the shelves. For months, no one noticed. The barrels looked identical from the outside. Nobody weighed them. The theft was discovered in July 2012, only because an inspector climbed a stack of barrels and one nearly toppled over. It was almost empty. Investigators eventually found that close to 3,000 tons of maple syrup, worth about $18 million, had been replaced with water. The heist became the most valuable theft in Canadian history. The mastermind, Richard Vallières, was eventually sentenced to nearly 8 years in prison. But the operation had run for almost a full year without a single alarm. Number 6. The Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Heist, London 2015. On the evening of April 2, 2015, a group of men arrived in a white van outside a safe deposit building in London's Hatton Garden Jewellery District. The men stepped out carrying bags, tools, and wheelie bins. They looked like a maintenance crew. Most of them were pensioners. The youngest was 57. The oldest was 76. Their combined age was 442 years. Their leader, Brian Reeder, had been planning the job for 3 years. He had previously been linked to the 1983 Brinks-Mat gold bullion robbery, one of the most famous heists in British history. Over the Easter bank holiday weekend, while the surrounding businesses were closed, the gang climbed down a disabled lift shaft to reach the basement vault. They used an industrial diamond drill to bore through 50 centimeters of solid concrete. The alarm triggered once during the job. A security guard arrived but never entered the building. Police were also notified but did not respond. The gang spent 3 days inside, emptying 73 safety deposit boxes of gold, cash, diamonds, and jewelry. When they finally left, they resealed the building and drove away. The theft was not discovered until the following Tuesday. It was the largest burglary in English legal history, valued at up to £14 million. Most of the gang were eventually arrested, identified partly through CCTV footage of their distinctive vehicle. But much of the stolen jewelry was never found. Their mysterious inside accomplice, known only as Basil, has never been caught. Number 5. The 300 million yen robbery. Tokyo, Japan, 1968. On the morning of December 10, 1968, 4 bank employees were driving through Fuchu City in Tokyo. Their vehicle was carrying 294 million yen, the equivalent of nearly $800,000 at the time. The money was meant to be distributed as year-end bonuses to workers at a nearby Toshiba factory. It was a cold, overcast Tuesday morning, and the route was routine. A young man in a police motorcycle uniform pulled the vehicle over. He approached the car with urgency and informed the bank employees that their branch manager's home had just been blown up. He told them a bomb had also been planted beneath the car they were sitting in. He then crawled under the vehicle to investigate. Seconds later, smoke and flames appeared from underneath. The officer shouted for everyone to run. All 4 employees scrambled out of the car and stepped back. The officer climbed inside the driver's seat and drove away with the cash. The entire operation was performed by one person with no weapon, no violence, and no forced entry. The smoke came from a road flare. The bomb threat was a prepared lie. The police uniform was a costume. 170,000 police officers were eventually deployed across Japan searching for the suspect. The investigation cost 900 million yen. That is 3 times what was stolen. More than 110,000 suspects were interviewed. The statute of limitations expired in 1975 with no arrests. To this day, the 300 million yen robbery remains the largest unsolved cash heist in Japanese history. Number 4. The Baker Street Bank Heist, London, England, 1971. On the weekend of September 11, 1971, a group of thieves rented a leather goods shop on Baker Street in London, 2 doors down from the Lloyds Bank branch at number 187. Over the following 3 weekends, they worked quietly inside the shop after closing hours, digging a tunnel beneath the street toward the bank's vault. Nobody reported anything unusual. By the 3rd weekend, they had broken through the vault floor from below. They worked through the night cracking open safe deposit boxes. By some estimates, they took as much as £3 million in cash, jewelry, and documents. The exact figure was never confirmed. Many of the box owners never came forward to report what was missing. An amateur ham radio operator in the area had picked up the gang's walkie-talkie communications during the heist and called police. Officers searched the area for hours, but could not locate the source of the signal. By the time anyone understood what had happened, the gang was gone. The tunnel was found empty. What makes this case unusual is what happened afterward. The British government issued what is known as a D-notice, a formal request to suppress the story from newspapers. For years, The reasons for the gag order were kept secret. Rumors suggested the boxes contained photographs and documents belonging to powerful political figures, possibly connected to a member of the royal family. The full details of what was taken remain classified until 2071. Nobody was ever charged for the Baker Street robbery itself. Number 3. The Fortaleza Tunnel Heist, Brazil 2005. In May 2005, a small new business opened on a quiet street in Fortaleza, a city in northeastern Brazil. The business was called Grama Sintética, which translates to artificial grass. The staff handed out flyers to neighbors, painted the front of the building green, and parked a branded white van out front. Foot traffic was light. No grass was ever sold. But the building stayed busy. Behind the front door, a team of around 25 workers had been digging. Over 3 months, they excavated a tunnel running 256 feet beneath one of the city's busiest avenues. The tunnel was not crude. It had wooden support beams, electric lighting, and an air conditioning system to deal with the underground heat. Workers removed 30 tons of soil in bags, carried out discreetly over weeks. The neighbor running a used bookstore next door never heard a sound. The tunnel ended directly beneath the vault of the Central Bank of Brazil's Fortaleza branch, 2 meters of reinforced concrete above their heads. On the weekend of August 6, 2005, during a national holiday when the building was empty, the gang cut through the vault floor. Inside, they found 164 million Brazilian reals in used banknotes stacked in neat bundles. More than $70 million. No alarms were triggered. No one was nearby. They loaded everything into vans and left behind only juice cartons and empty energy drink cans. The theft was not discovered until Monday morning. The mastermind was never caught. Most of the money was never recovered. Number 2. The Stockholm Helicopter Heist, Sweden, 2009. In the early hours of September 23, 2009, a stolen Bell 206 helicopter flew low over Stockholm in the dark. Its lights were off. At 5:15 in the morning, it descended onto the rooftop of the G4S cash depot in the Västberga district of the city. The depot held the cash that would supply the city's ATM machines just days before Sweden's national monthly payday. The building was at its highest cash level of the month. The people who had planned this heist knew that. They had also prepared everything else. Earlier that night, someone had placed a bag, clearly labeled bomb, outside the hangar where Stockholm police kept their 2 helicopters 25 miles away. The police could not use their own aircraft without first determining whether the bag was real. Roads leading to the depot had been scattered with metal caltrops. Police cars racing to the scene blew their tires before they could get close. On the rooftop, the robbers smashed through a reinforced glass skylight with a sledgehammer, lowered ladders, and climbed in. Small explosive charges blew open security doors. 21 staff inside locked themselves in a safety vault and were not harmed. Within 20 minutes, the thieves had loaded bags of cash into the helicopter and were gone. They took the equivalent of $4 million. 10 men were eventually charged and convicted, caught partly because one of them cut his hand on a ladder and left DNA at the scene. But the money was never recovered. The $4 million has not been found to this day. Number 1. The Antwerp Diamond Heist, Belgium, 2003. Around the year 2000, an Italian man named Leonardo Notarbartolo rented a small office in the Antwerp Diamond Center in Belgium. He said he was a diamond merchant. He paid his rent on time, attended meetings quietly, and raised no suspicion for 2 years. He was simply another tenant in the world's most important diamond building. 2 floors below the main floor sat a vault protected by 10 layers of security, a 3-ton steel door, infrared sensors, Doppler radar, a seismic sensor, a magnetic alarm system. The Antwerp district handles roughly 85% of the world's rough diamonds, and hundreds of merchants stored their stones in there. Notarbartolo spent those 2 years studying everything. He hid a camera inside a briefcase to record guard routines and vault access. He assembled a team of 5 specialists. On the weekend of February 15, 2003, the crew entered the building and worked through Saturday and Sunday. They got past the magnetic alarm by partially unscrewing its metal plates earlier in the week and holding them together with double-sided tape. When Sunday night ended, they left with more than $100 million in diamonds, gold, and jewelry. They closed the vault door behind them. The theft was not discovered until Monday morning. One crew member made a single mistake. He threw bags of garbage from their hideout into a nearby forest. A local landowner found them and called police. Inside was a half-eaten salami sandwich. The DNA matched Notarbartolo. He was arrested 5 days later and sentenced to 10 years. The techniques the crew used to bypass the remaining security systems were never fully explained to investigators. More than 20 years later, the diamonds have still never been found. Thank you for watching and sticking till the end. We have got plenty more videos coming in the future. Hit that subscribe button.